Hey guys, and welcome to another video in our series on Third Reich Lugers. This is a supplement to the book, and it gives you a chance to actually see these up close and personal. Now, I'm on 1936, and these are the Mausers. I have an Army issued full rig with 2 matching magazines, so that went to the Army. I have one that was issued to the Navy. And then I have 3 different variations of Krieghoff, all made in 1936. So I'm going to show you those. Let's start off with the Army. By the way, there were some police, but like the G date, they were fully stamped and approved and proofed for the military and then diverted to the police. They're very rare. There's only a few hundred. And the only way you can tell is by the sear safety. I don't have one of those to show you, but again, it'll look like a military Luger, but have the sear safety, and probably the magazine will be a little bit different than the military magazine. So if you want to know what that looks like, I'd go back and watch the video about G dates because they're exactly like that. Let's start with the Army issued 1936. Now, there's some interesting features on this. First of all, what I noticed on every 36 that I have, there is no Mauser hump. That's the standard Mauser. Well, why don't you come on over, we'll take a closer look. Okay, I took the grips off, and these are not numbered. So again, I see a few in 36 and 37 that are numbered, but the vast majority are not numbered, and also with the G date, we talked about the vast majority not numbered grips and no proof mark. And there is that chip, $1 million chip. I guess it cost $1 million for all the guns that got chipped. But that comes from taking this off and prying it up. It cracks it right there, so you want to just pull it down. I've mentioned that before. You see in 1936, S42 is the Mauser code. We see that they still have the straw parts, straw small parts. They haven't switched to all blue yet. That actually will happen next year, and I'll do a video for the 1937, about halfway through the year. They went from a rust blue to a salt blue, so this is still the rust blue. You can see halos here, as you should see. They're very faint, but there's like an aura around the numbers. Also, sometimes you'll see it on the top. This number right here, you see slight halos there. So you want to look for that to make sure it is all matching. This has, I mentioned the grips are not numbered, but this has 2 matching magazines. There's the first one, and by the way, the letter block is an L, it looks like. And you can see the serial number here, bottom of the barrel, and then on 1 and 2nd magazine just has a plus mark. The proof here is still a droop wing 63, and that should match the droop wing 63 right here. So we have military proof, and then the test firing proof, and then another test firing proof right here. So that's the sequence of the proof marks, and that's what the 36 looks like. If we take a look at the holster, it does have a tool, and the tool should be droop wing 63, just like the magazines, and I believe that is, yep, sure is. Maybe you can barely see that, but that is a droop wing 63. So everything on this rig is correct. It has a black holster, but they also made them in a tan and a darker brown, almost like a coffee color brown. You can see the date. And that Eagle proof, by the way, is kind of a Weimar era proof mark that they were still using, but phasing out and going to a Third Reich style of proof that later would include the swastika. But for now, it's a Weimar Eagle and the 36, and then the maker and the city is Ulm. The gun and the 2 matching magazines to make a complete rig. Now, in the Navy, they only made a few hundred, so this is pretty rare. Once again, we see the 1936. You can see halos right there. It's actually a little more distinct. Halos around that number, and there should be halos around this number, and it is, to me, it's a little more distinct. I do with and without the light because I can see better with the light, but sometimes the camera picks it up better without the light. And we know this went to the Navy. even though it's military proofed, and you see droop wing 63 Eagle, and then the firing proof and another firing proof, so that's the sequence. We know it went to the Navy because of the North Sea, which is Wilhelmshaven up in the North Sea, and that's the property mark that's on the front strap. And then you can also see this is not matching, but it's close. This is 1516 and this is 1303. See the little X? That means this is the spare mag. And it is droop wing 63. It's also nickel tube. So it is a 36 magazine, because 36 was the last year they still used the nickel mag. Toward the end of 36, they went to a blued tube. Looks more like this. And then we'll see in 1937 and on, it's almost always blued tubes. They did away with the nickel mag because it was a little bit more expensive. So this is the Navy non-matching magazine with a Navy marked 1936. The grips, I don't know if I mentioned already, the grips are also not numbered. Now we want to talk about the Krieghoff. These all went to the Luftwaffe. And so we have 3 variations in 1936. There's actually about 7,000 made in 36, which was the biggest production year by far. There were some years, like we're going to look at 1938 pretty soon. 1938, they only made about 50 to 100, but 7,000 in 1936, and it comes in 3 variations. We have an S code, which is the code for 1936. Then they had a 36, they went to a date, but it's just straight 36. You see the 36 code, and you'll notice that the 36 marking, in my opinion, looks kind of crude, but that's the way they all look. And then finally, this one comes as a complete rig with 2 matching magazines. They have 1936. So all 3 variations, the S code, the 36, and then the 1936. Also, which you'll notice in this year, we went from wooden grips to the fine checkering Ritz grip. And the reason they call it Ritz, if I take this off and turn it over, you'll see the word Ritz. That was the maker. And then the coarser checkering, slightly different color, coarser checkering. This became the standard red grip. So you see all 3 variations of grip. I did want to show you on the toggle. If you watch the G-date, this was the G-date Krieghoff. And I mentioned the toggle. That's the early variation of toggle. This is the later, well, they only used this for the first maybe 500, and then they went to this style, which is Krieghoff Sul. It's a similar logo, and in this one it just says Sul. They also numbered it on the exterior. Here, they're numbered on the interior. In the S code, they still numbered the side plate externally. This is within the first 2,000. And they only used these wooden grips for the first 2,000. And then after that, they went to the Ritz grip. But you can see then they stopped numbering them externally, mostly because it made the gun look a lot better to not have all those numbers stamped all over the gun. So this first variation, it has the early grip. It does have the later toggle. But some S codes will have the early toggle, and it just says Sul, and it'll be numbered externally. And then the proof marks, you see 3 proofs. You see the Krieghoff L2 proof. There's an eagle with a 2 underneath it here, and here, and here. So you have that's a military proof, and then the test firing proof is an eagle with no 2 underneath it. You will also find that on the barrel. Actually, that's a military proof. It's an L2 proof, and there is no serial number on the barrel. I mentioned that on the earlier gun. So this first variation, first of all, this is a transitional one because it has a later toggle link, but there's no serial number here. There would be no serial number on the firing pin, on the hold open, but we're going to see in the next variation, I believe, that they began to number the serial number. If you ask what is this number here, that is the diameter for the barrel and has nothing to do with the serial number. So the serial number is here. and here, and then throughout the gun on all the small parts, you will see if you take it apart, they are internally numbered. The next one, this is actually starts at around 2000 and goes up to, this is 4500. So this is kind of late for the 36 code. And you can see it's no longer numbered externally. So they moved the numbering inside on the side plate. Pop that off. You see 78, you see 78, and right here it's marked internally 78. There's also an L2 proof, Krieghoff proof there, and actually on the little trigger bar there's a little proof mark right there. So it's internally marked. Let's take a look at the proofs. They're still using all early proofs at this stage. So you see early L2 proof. Then you see the firing proof and then the L2 proof. There's a firing proof right here on the barrel, as well as one in the middle. There's a smaller proof. So there's Krieghoff proofs all over this. And now for the first time, we see the barrel is numbered. And then they begin to number the toggle pin, and they begin to number the firing pin. So there's not hard and fast rules to these. If you're buying one, you should probably have somebody check it out. Those are very, very tiny. Look at the font on that serial number. It's very, very tiny. So you need to be careful. All the proofs have to be correct. Now this one is not a matching magazine, but it does have the upside down L2 Krieghoff proof, which is correct. It should be upside down. It's to an earlier gun, and it is a nickeled magazine. So this is a rarer 36 code. And then finally, we have a 1936 code with the Krieghoff toggle. You'll see that this has a matching magazine with an upside down Krieghoff proof. We have a second matching magazine with the L2 proof. And it comes, the Krieghoff holster, by the way, this has a tool in it, but it's not marked, so it's just a blank tool. The Krieghoff holster is all black, no marking on the back, like this 36. There's marking on the back. All the military holsters have markings on the back, but the Krieghoff holster does not have any marking. You'll notice it's black with black stitching. Notice the white stitching here. Krieghoff will have the black stitching, black leather, and when you open it up, there is the only indication that it's Krieghoff, and that is because you see the Eagle 2. That's the Eagle L2 proof, they actually call it. Eagle L2 proof is right there, and that's where you would expect to see it. The Krieghoff holster also, I don't know if you'll be able to notice it, but the cut is a little bit different. So this cut right here on the Krieghoff is just a little bit deeper. I don't know if you can, well, you can see it where this is called the pull-up strap. You can see the gap there versus no gap here. So this is a little deeper cut. It's just important to look for those kinds of things because somebody who has this stamp can take a commercial holster that's black, put that stamp in it, and make $1,000. So you want to look for things like the black stitching and the cut here. There's just, you can see the black stitching very plainly here as opposed to white stitching inside. So that's what the Krieghoff holster looks like. Hey, we got through 1936 pretty quickly. A lot of interesting Krieghoffs to take a look at. But now we move into 1937, and there's going to be some production changes, so stay tuned. If you would like a copy of Third Reich Lugers, you're making a good choice. They're available through Amazon, especially if you're outside the United States. We encourage you to go to Amazon, or they're available on our website. Check it out.